Hey drawing friends! Today we're drawing the lily, which is one of my favorite flowers, and it was one of my mom's favorite flowers as well. Lilies are so awesome. One of the things that I love about them is that they like to grow in groups, so they're like friendly flowers. They also come in all these beautiful patterns, and one of my favorites is the Stargazer Lily. It kind of has little freckles, and it's just beautiful. Now, I could not do a lily video without showing you how to do this little curl under that you see on so many lilies. So this is a little bit more challenging. However, you can do it. And you know what? You can just rewind and push play over and over again until you get it. As always, there is a downloadable PDF that you can follow along and copy to go with this video. And also, all the supplies that I use are down in the description below. Also, if you're on Instagram, we're using the hashtag Watts Floral Series to share all of our drawings too. So if you want to post your drawings or just check out what other people are doing from these classes, feel free to go check it out. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is Wattsalot, and that's where you'll see me post a lot of my new artwork. And if you get on my newsletter, that's where a lot of exclusive deals happen and special treatment. My newsletter people are like VIPs. All right, let's get started drawing the lily. Okay, so I have some lily reference, and I licensed these from Adobe Stock Images. And this one is a great kind of 3/4 view. It's a pretty open 3/4 view of the lily. And then this one's a good view of the top. Now, if you draw the lily from the top, you'll see that there are 3 petals. And then there are 3 more petals. These are actually the lily's sepals, but they are the same coloration as the petals, so they're often referred to as the petals. So this is kind of like what a top view of a lily might look like. And I think that's a really useful thing to have reference of, because you'll kind of keep in mind that, okay, there's 3 petals that are pretty symmetrical to each other, and then 3 more that come in behind it. It looks a lot like a pinwheel. Now, another thing about lilies is that the petals are very delicate, so they kind of have, you'll notice sometimes they'll like have this little bit of ruffle or ripple effect that happens on the edges. So that's another thing that you can do. You can add a little bit of a ripple to those petals to give it a little bit of interest. Okay. So now that we know what the lily looks like from the top view drawn in simple lines, oh, and there's also the center line. So we have that. Now, when we go to conquer something like the 3/4 view, this is where things get a little bit tricky, because this curled under petal happens so much on lilies, and whenever I picture a lily, I feel like it has to have this. So that's one of the things that we're going to learn today. And it's, you know, you might want to throw your paper out the window 100 times, because I know I had to redraw this a few times when I was learning it. Okay, so I usually start with a cone shape for the lily. And if you haven't seen the first video of this floral drawing series, I recommend watching that one first. I break down flowers into saucers, oranges, and cups, and it kind of just helps me to see more simple shapes with these different flowers, so that I can start with that and then build on top of that with more complicated line work. So I start with a cone shape, and I do it at a 3/4 view from the bird's eye perspective, kind of looking down on the lily. Now, you could do your cone like that, or you could make it more like this, almost like you're looking at maybe a tornado shape. Okay. And then from there, I have these lines that cascade out of that. They're coming, if I were to draw those where they were coming from this point, they would look like this. So there's 2, and we're going for 6. So then I do 2 on the sides, and then I do 2 more in the back. So it's almost like, you know, like water spraying out of a whale, you know? It's whale water. What's a whale look like from? I think they have a, yeah, there you go. All right. All right, so from here, then I start to fill out my petal sides, right? So these, you can think of these as that center crease in the petal. Okay. And now we're going to draw the sides. Now you can totally make these smooth, or you can add a little bit of that ripple. Like on this flower, some of them are smooth and then some of them are kind of rippled. So it's up to you. All right, so a good place to start with drawing this would be here. You could make two kind of mirrored M shapes and then do the same thing with that outside one, except for that one will be more of a curved line. So there's those two petals. Then I work backwards. And part of that is because these will overlap those, but also it's just a nice place to start to kind of keep it simple. Now from here, there's two things that you can do with these side petals. You can either make it look like you're really looking from the side. So in that case, this line would be the center line of that petal, and then you could do that. Or you could have this line be the center where you're looking at it from above, and so you would see those wavy lines like this on each side. So here we're looking at the side, and here we're looking at the top. So I'm going to do the top view for this. Okay. And then if you want to add that little bit of ripple, kind of do it to the bottom half or third of the petals. Okay. And then these back two petals, you won't see all of their details. You'll just see this part as it jumps over the side. So that's just going to look something like this. I'm going to redraw my center lines a little bit. And something about lily petals that I've noticed is they kind of have like a potato chip shape. So they kind of dip in towards the center and come back up again on the edges. So that's kind of what I did with that. Okay. And I think that lilies really come to life when you add some color to them, because you can do that pink in the center and leave the edges white, and then you could add those little spots to give it a little more detail. But I think that that color that you can add in the center is really beautiful and has a lot of potential. And then from here, I make sure I have my pistil and then my stamen. Now when I ink it, I ink the pistil when I ink these center lines, and then I do the stamen at the end because they actually kind of create a lot of visual confusion, and they only have one line, whereas the pistil is kind of thicker on a lily, so I have that like this, and you want everything to kind of be drawn behind it. Okay, so then, you know, if you want, you can give it kind of an S curve for the stem, and then the leaves on a lily are often a bit like blades of grass. So that's kind of how, and yeah, I mean, I drew on top of that, but you can kind of see the leaves still. All right, so let's go ink this lily and get some definitive lines down so that we can see this come to life. Okay, so it's time to ink this lily, and I've been drawing these flowers with a single line weight pen and then adding a little bit of thick and thin later to give it that brush pen effect. And the pen I've been using is the Tombow Mono Drawing Pen in size 8. I love this pen. It's really great for adding extra wet media and afterwards, like if you want to add ink or watercolor to your drawing. And it's just overall a great pen to use. So when I start off inking a lily, I start with the pistil, and then I start with the center lines of each petal, and then I ink these front 2 petals first and then move backwards. One thing to note is these 2 side petals, if you give them a little bit of bounce, then the flower will look a little more lively and less like it needs a drink of water. All right. All right, so from here, then I go and start inking these front 2 petals. Now the front 2 edges, you'll see them complete, and then the side 2, they'll kind of dip behind here and then resume again here because we're seeing this curl under from kind of a top angle. All right, and then these back 2, you'll see the least of, and I make sure to give it that little potato chip dip. Okay. Now here I do the base and then move down to the stem. And the stem will be a long S curve. And then I have to make sure that it dries before I go over here to this first leaf. And this one's going to have a little bit of a bend in it. So I draw it like that, and then I take this side here and resume here. And another leaf over here. And then I'll give those lines in the center. And then this one will resume here. All right, now I can go ahead and add the stamen in. And those I left out until this stage because there's just so many lines happening in here that it's just easier to add them in afterwards. Now if they were a little bit thicker, I would have done those along with the pistil, but they seem to have pretty thin lines, so I go ahead and add them in after inking the rest. And then if we've got one in the foreground, it might look something like this. Maybe they're there's one back there. All right, so here is the finished line drawing, and then I'm going to speed the video up while I add some thick areas to some of the line work to give it a little more dimension. It's basically a nice way to have more control over that brush pen look if you're in a more beginning stage of learning to draw. Okay, so there is the ink drawing of the lily, and I just had so much fun doing this video. I love lilies so much. I think one of the magical parts about lilies is seeing them in color. So I wanted to let you know that in the detail description in this video, there's actually a link to a bonus video that shows you how I color a lily using the Tombow Dual Brush Pens. These are amazing. Tombow just sent them to me, and I can't wait to use them on this drawing. Also, if you enjoyed this, you can shoot me a thumbs up and a subscribe. I have so many videos coming your way, and I cannot wait to share them with you. All right, see you on the next video.